So if there are any questions?
There's about 12,000 Ontarians worried about their confidentiality of their health records. Their cancer tests have been lost in the mail. I'm wondering if part of the blame for this should go to the fact that there was $1 billion wasted in developing electronic health records, and we're so far behind that we're still using paper mailings to deal with these confidential issues.
Keith, first of all, let me tell you that we treat this as a very serious issue. We will do everything that we can to assist in whatever way possible to retrieve this information and ensure that there is ultimately no breach of confidentiality, and that this information doesn't get into the wrong hands. But I think what it does, and the Information and Privacy Commissioner has referenced this, it does bolster the case that we continue to make as a government for us to move forward with electronic health records. And one of the things that we'll be, looking at Cancer Care Ontario for is improved and better ways to transmit that kind of confidential information.
The city's plan or proposal to shut down libraries, I mean, you bail them out every year. Are you unhappy to see that they're talking about closing libraries so that you can bail them out?
I'm proud of I think we've provided some $400 million in support to our libraries. I think it's very important that our communities, the families, continue to have access, not just to books, Rob, but more and more so access to technology that we'd hope is available to all our families. But if you go into an elementary school and you talk to kids in grade 3, for example, and ask them how many have computers at home, some of them are going to tell you that they don't. So I still think it's an important resource for our families, and that's the reason why we're going to keep supporting our libraries.
So therefore, you're kind of saying to the city...
I'm not going to, they've got some difficult decisions to make in their budget. I've got enough of my own difficult decisions to make without getting into their difficult decisions. So.
Economist Jack Mintz says that the claim is false.
Well, here's how we see it. Ottawa, understandably, has no money of its own. It only has the money given to it by Canadian taxpayers. And 40 cents on the dollar comes from Ontario taxpayers. And that money has been going into a pool which is supporting energy projects in Alberta and in Saskatchewan and in Quebec and in Newfoundland and in Nova Scotia. And my point is, we'd like to have a bit of that pool, of some of that money, come back into Ontario as well to support our renewable energy sector. We think it's very exciting. We think it can serve as the foundation for a new manufacturing sector. Just as we're the #1 auto sector in North America, I'd like us to be the #1 sector in renewable energy production. So what I'm saying to the feds is, you're supporting the energy sectors in the other provinces. Well, we want to support this new one here too.
But Mintz, that argument has been dismissed by Mintz. Is Mintz wrong when he says that your analysis is incorrect?
Well, I'm just giving you my representation of the facts here from Ontario.
A couple more questions. An example of Ontario innovation at its best. This week, Research in Motion announced that it's cutting 2,000 jobs, most of them in southern Ontario, and analysts ascribe that to the fact that it couldn't innovate. The company was not innovating. So are you alarmed or disappointed or worried by this announcement?
Well, first of all, I want to offer my support to those folks who might be losing their jobs as a result of these cutbacks. There is some good news in this. First of all, in the KW area, there are actually 1,000 jobs that we can't fill today in the high-tech area, all very well-paying jobs. So I think there's some room, Chris, for some transitioning from RIM to some other opportunities right in the community itself. Secondly, I just have a tremendous amount of confidence in RIM. They're playing in a high-stakes game. They are global leaders. They are one of the few that we have as national champions who have found success in a highly competitive sector. So I have every confidence that they're going to continue to do whatever is necessary, and that we're going to see a resurgence sooner rather than later as they move forward with yet more innovation.
I'm curious why you were putting on the weekend.
In Durham region, the city knows the city issue, but they're having gas or garbage incinerators at their citizens are now going to court to stop them. Do you offer them support? Are you disappointed that when you're taking away, the cities are adding?
I appreciate the opportunity to speak to this. First of all, you will know for 10 or 20 years, we've heard from doctors and nurses who have pleaded with us to take steps here in Ontario to shut down coal-fired generation. It's costing us billions of dollars annually in healthcare costs, and it's hurting the health of our children and seniors in particular. We've had experienced very few smog days this summer and in recent years as a result of our efforts to shut down coal-fired generation. Now, we have some of the most stringent emission standards in the world when it comes to the kinds of technologies that you're talking about. And we listened very closely to our medical experts to ensure that we are not going to compromise health. So our responsibility is to make sure that we have those standards, that we monitor emissions, and that we're protecting the health and safety of our population. But having said that, the number one responsibility that we all share is to find ways to ensure that we deal with our waste in a way that doesn't result in it going into landfill sites or going into the kinds of technology that you're talking about, but rather that helps us some way take advantage of it and see it for what it really is, which is a resource.
Premier, on the weekend when you talked about some people firing up in the background, and we've talked about it a bit, is this what's going on? You're trying to quell that before the election?
No.
And seriously, Premier, if I could ask, why would you say now? Most leaders at this point in the game going for a third term would kind of leave their options open.
Because I'm feeling very energized and feeling very committed. There are a number of things that I want to see through. I want to see our Pan Am Games in 2015, do everything I can to bring us closer to that. I want to see us bring full-day kindergarten to Ontario. I want to shut down the very last coal-fired plant. And I want to ensure that we take this momentum that we've achieved in our economy today and that we harden that so that it is irreversible. And we do that in a way that doesn't compromise supports for our schools and our health care. So those are the things that I'm committed to. And my grandkids will be counting on that.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
That's okay. Yeah. Thanks, sir. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. You're wonderful.
Thank you.
You're wonderful. You're the best backdrop I've ever had.